What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host, Alex Van Aken, and today I am joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. You know, it's snowing outside. It finally feels like winter. And, you know, I'm just settling in, feeling very cozy.
Send me some of that.
I'll try my best. We're also joined by Kyle Hilliard. Hello, Kyle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in a windowless basement, so I'll just trust you that it's snowing outside.
Yeah, it's still snowing. 2 days straight. And rounding out the crew, Charles Hart. How you doing, Charles?
Hello, I'm good. There's no snow. I can see it, and there's none of it. But there was the other day. And that's how I'm personally doing, is there was snow the other day.
Nice. I love that for you. It's going to be a busy episode. We're going to try to stick to around 60 minutes or so. We'll see. We're going to go through the full list of the Game Award nominees. We're going to be talking about Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, our early impressions from the first, 5-ish hours of the game. Then we're going to be talking about Pentiment, Somerville, and Harvestella, which Charles, Kyle, and Marcus have been playing respectively. And then we'll round out the show with a couple of listener emails. Let's get into it. So the full list of the 2022 Game Awards nominees have been revealed. Now, disclaimer, Game Informer as an outlet is a judge in the Game Awards. And we, as part of that process, submitted our picks. But this is, the aggregated picks, that Jeff Keighley's team at the Game Awards assembled to represent the voice of all of the judges. And I think they also, there's some of these that like the public also weigh in on, I think. But yeah, without further ado, we can go down the list because it's a long one. So each category has 6 nominees. Of course, the Game Awards are going to be streamed, I think like December 8th, that evening. And you have until then to go and vote. So yeah, the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards are A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Are there any that stand out as I think Elden Ring and God of War, you probably could have seen those two come in.
The list could have been those two and then 4 others, right? That's how they could have listed it, right, on the website, and 4 others.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people. It's funny to sort of complain about this because it's like we did submit our own and stuff, but I think people are rightly complaining about Vampire Survivors not being on that list. I think that
feels
game
like
is
a game
quietly very huge.
I mean, even not quite. I feel like I've heard so much about that game, and I haven't even played it. But that's been the game all year long that I've heard.
It's good, man.
Not to jump ahead, it's not even in Best Indie.
I know.
Well,
well,
I didn't know that.
Debut indie, right? It got that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's one of those ones that's it was early access, it was Steam, and now it's on consoles. It just went 1.0, but I'm not even the biggest lover of the game. I like it fine. I played it a lot on my Steam Deck, and I really enjoyed it. But the people who really you're usually all in on Vampire Survivors in a way that it becomes an illness.
Yeah.
Charles, what do you think about these nominees?
I agree with what Kyle said about it should be God of War, Elden Ring, and then 4 others, because that's kind of what we thought it would be. I am surprised to see Xenoblade, not in a bad way. I just haven't played it. It just wasn't, I think, a part of a lot of conversations I've been having, and I respect its place on there. I think it's cool that we got something like that. I think generally, of a Game of the Year nominations list, I would like more diversity than there was. I guess it feels like a lot of the same type of game, like the big, I don't know, Vampire Survivors would have been a good thing to throw in there to mix it up. I was also going to say Plague Tale is a game I also haven't heard a lot of buzz about personally. I think the people I've heard that have played it have liked it, but in terms of the best games of the year, it wasn't in a lot of conversations I was hearing.
Yeah. A game I feel like is kind of got snubbed for this category is Neon White.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
that game could have easily been on here based on, well, number one, like scores and its reception, but also just like I feel like that's also been one of those games this year that has been a part of the conversation since it came out
Oh yeah.
and hasn't really stopped. Whereas, a couple of these, even though it's more recent, a Plague Tale, I feel like that game kind of came out and it had its week, and then it kind of like, maybe it's not fair to that game because it's just been surrounded by so many other massive releases. But yeah, I don't know. But I haven't played that one, so I can't speak to that. But I do feel like Vampire Survivors, like y'all, and then Neon White are the two that like feel weird that they're not there. I really like Stray. I don't remember. I think I voted to. I don't remember how our list shaked out, but I agree that Stray is one of the best games of the year. I know I saw like some discourse about it, but I thought the cat game was good, and I'm happy it's on the list. I think it's it's simple in what it does, but I think it's really effective.
Yeah, I'd also throw in Tunic as another big snub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like Tunic and Neon White were the two that jumped out for me, for the same reasons you said. But also to prevent former editor Jill Grote from strangling me. But I feel like I would have, in my personal list, I haven't played Xenoblade. That's the only one on this list I haven't played at all, so I can't speak to that. But I feel like Stray, as much as I do like that game, I think it might have gotten a nod because of the mainstream coverage that game got. Like, that game was a bit of a phenomenon of, like, people sharing, hey, this is my pet, reacting to this game. And, like, local, like, non-gaming news was covering that game. So they're like, what's this crazy cat game that's got the internet on fire?
It's also one that a lot of people played because it's not super long. It came out during a lull, like I think it just got widely played, which is why I think it ended up on that list. But I'm making a lot of assumptions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no
like
disrespect.
Stray. Yeah, I just think personally, like Neon White and Tunic and Vampire Survivors are
Embody
awfully
that a little
stronger
more.
than that game. Yeah,
That's fair.
I would have cut personally like Plague Tale and Stray and probably tossed in one of the two of those three. But that's me.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Well, let's move on to best game direction. Now, typically we see a lot of the same entries between these two categories. According to the Game Awards, best game direction is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So the nominees are Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality, and Stray. And when I look at the category description, I feel like, now don't come for me, but it's awarded for the outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. I just feel like for me, like Horizon, I don't know if that really fits here. It just felt like,
How could you?
I know.
No, I actually am
The game no one
100%.
mentioned in the Game of the Year discussion.
Yeah.
Horizon's fine, but it's not. I certainly wouldn't call it innovative. I don't know. Maybe I should. I don't know.
Would you say the same, Kyle, about God of War? Because I feel like those in the same kind of boat. And I love both of those games, but
I love one of those games. I think that's a great point. Like Ragnarok isn't super innovative either, but when you think of like and it's the word direction, I think that sort of throws everybody off because it's like God of War does feel like a really well directed game because it's so cinematic and it's so performance driven, and I think that's why Immortality probably made it on that list as well because it's literally about directing performances, right? But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to call Ragnarok an innovative game. Certainly, no.
yeah, I always look at it as like innovative design too. Of like this game does some really neat things that maybe you don't see that often. Which that's why when I saw Immortality, I was like, oh, good. Like, I mean, yes, it's Sam Barlow kind of doing the thing he's done before, but it's still like enough of a spin to where like, yeah, I think it warrants a spot. But this is another one where I'm like, oh, this feels like Tunic got a little snubbed again because the game direction, like the stuff with the manual, I think is such a cool idea because the whole game centers around that. So in a way that I was like, yeah, you could probably bump Horizon for that. I'll take that manual over an admittedly very good glider.
Yeah, a game that I think is sorely missing here would be something like Rollerdrome. I feel like that really embodies this category. Creative vision and innovation. Like it's doing weird stuff and it's like really sure about itself and like what a cool concept for a game and great execution. I also think of something like Kirby or Pokemon Legends Arceus could also fit well in this slot. I think they kind of embody some of that. Like, I think Kirby is just like it's just super creative. Sure, it's a 3D platformer, but like a lot of those like Kirby transformations and like puzzle solving, I really enjoyed that game. But maybe it doesn't hang with, stuff like Elden Ring and Immortality and stuff like that. But
I think this is another category, just while we're talking about it, just throwing Tunic in on everything and also throwing Neon White in on everything.
Oh yeah.
A game that like takes a very specific direction and goes like all in on. Like, that game knows exactly what it is the whole time you're playing it, and I really appreciate that. Like, sometimes, I don't know, like a Horizon game, not that it doesn't know what it's doing, but it's treading a path that's been tread before. To see something take a concept and just run with it in a completely opposite direction of a lot of other things you see going on, I think is just really admirable. And to do that successfully.
Yeah.
Can I also say real quick that this is the worst part about this time of year, is having to talk bad about games I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Horizon. I feel like even already I'm coming off as some Horizon hater. It's like, I played and beat that game. I had a good time.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to best narrative. This one's pretty simple. For outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality.
I'm a hate now.
Oh,
how is Norco or Citizen Sleeper not even on this list? To me, those are two of the best narratives of the year. Norco, my personal favorite of the year, and it's kind of wild to me that neither of them made the cut. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where not enough people have played them, unfortunately, since it is an aggregation of, a lot of different judges and outlets and sites and all of that.
I think both are on our list, right?
Yeah, they were.
I say this to absolve
us.
us.
A lot of places.
Yeah, I'm trying to absolve us of any criticism. Like, don't look at us.
We were cool, Marcus. You can say it.
Yes.
This is these like first few categories are like the least interesting to me. I always think like they're very like broad and like oversweeping. I don't know what the right word would be, but yeah, I mean, one thing's for sure, I need to play Immortality apparently, because that's been in every category I think thus far.
I played it because of the last GI show I was on when Marcus was
I
talking
added
about.
it to my list.
It's so cool. I like sat down the next day and I was like, all right, I'll see what this game is about. And then like it was the only thing I played for 3 days and then I beat it.
Can I ask Charles, like, is it scary?
It's absolutely scary. Marcus was like, it's not really a horror game, and it's not, but like not to spoil again, like the whole thing is once you spoil, I think one of the main things about the game, it kind of loses its touch. But to me, finding that thing was very scary, and I think it's not scary in the way of like, a monster jumps out and there's some like it's scary in the way of like stumbling onto a thing you weren't supposed to find and being like, oh, this is freaky, this kind of startled me, but it's never a thing that it's never a thing that happens to you accidentally. It's a thing you'll do purposefully. It's really hard to talk about this game without
but it's not monsters. You're not signing up for Resident Evil.
No. It's unnerving.
I feel better then.
At times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel better if it's not a monster.
It's also the farther you go, like it's not gonna come out at you all at once. It's
the
more
monster.
like the metaphorical monster here.
I mean, we look at the biggest monsters every day in the mirror.
That's yep.
Damn.
Yep.
Really makes you think.
Yeah. Anything to say before we move on to best art direction?
Elden Ring, weird choice for narrative. As much as I like that game, feels weird.
I think you could say, I think like world building and
I'm not saying that
strength.
Like there were elements of that story that I did find interesting, but like it's just not the thing that hooks me into Elden Ring necessarily. Like it's
I mean, I did like go through a rabbit hole of like lore videos, but is that the
Yeah.
game itself?
Narrative is not the same as lore.
yeah,
think
and I
that's
don't
fair.
I don't think that necessarily precludes, you know, you having to do your own research as like it's like, oh, if you had to do your own research, it shouldn't count. It's like if it's fascinating enough to sort of push you to engage in that way, it's I you know, there's something there, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like not the focus of that game to me. So it just felt a little odd, even though I love Elden Ring.
All right, best art direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design in animation. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, and Stray. So I think Stray, its art style, its art direction is its biggest strength, I think. The animations, all the cat animations, and just the art direction of that world, you know, being similar to like the Kowloon Walled City, and you know, having that like, I don't know, I really like that game, and that's one of the bigger reasons was the art direction. I haven't played Scorn, so I can't speak to that, but I hear that that's like the game's main attraction is the gooey.
Have you watched a trailer for Scorn?
Yes, I have.
I mean, it's basically that throughout. It's very focused and specific and strange and weird and admirable.
Does it ever feel like the piece of bubble gum is starting to lose its flavor after a few levels because it's so?
Well, no, it's not long. It's not that long, really, ultimately. And it's like, it feels right for that world. You know, wherever that world is, I don't know. I spoke to the director and I still don't know what that world is. But it's not the kind of game that you're like, oh, I wish the environment would change. It's like, I am supposed to feel uncomfortable, and congratulations, I feel uncomfortable.
I think another shout out to Rollerdrome, but I also think Signalis is what I was really hoping would get a nod, which spoiler alert, it's not even mentioned anywhere in any category, which is a bummer.
That's you like that game? I thought you didn't like scary stuff. That's pretty spooky scary.
I've been you know, expanding.
Yeah.
Resident Evil Village kind of like unlocked the scary in me, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I finished Signalis like a week ago for the first time. I played it and I enjoyed it.
I haven't finished it yet, but I have spent a lot of time just walking around and appreciating that super cool art style. I love how it switches from like the 2D look to, you know, walking into those first person 3D areas. I just did like one of the door opening puzzles, and like just the way that all looked too. So cool. Anything you all feel like, does this feel right to you? Is it, how you feeling about this?
Yeah, this is a weird one. Like art direction's always hard because I mean technically all of these are subjective, like all the categories are, but this is like the most. I don't think any of these games are undeserving. Like there isn't one that I see and go like, what? It's like, it's fine. I can go with it. Maybe the only one is like Horizon, because I think people, or maybe even this category kind of combines art direction with like graphical prowess. And I think I forget if the description does say that it counts for both of those.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Horizon doesn't have like a great art direction. I think it does, but there are some stuff where like I've always thought the tribe designs in both those games was kind of bad. Like just how everyone kind of looks. Like everyone kind of looks.
I love the way the
stupid.
robots look. I don't like the fashion of that world so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to, and it just is like, nah, I just don't like it. But I mean, that it also is, from a fidelity standpoint, is one of the most stunning games I've ever seen in my life. So
I do wonder if given more time, or maybe it's recency bias, if Pentiment, which we'll talk about later, and Somerville both would have had a chance to make that list. Somerville looks amazing, and what I've seen of Pentiment, Charles, you can speak to this. I think it's just really unique and interesting.
Yeah, I think as a, like, personally, when I think of art direction, the stuff that stands out to me is the stuff that looks like different and interesting, not necessarily like technically good. And I think that's why some of the games on here feel out of place, where, like, for me, when I remember a really good looking game, like I think of the manual and Tunic, or I think of the cool the book style of Pentiment. But and again, not to say that these games look bad, because they are all fantastic, and the vast majority of games look very good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I was looking at other games that I'd play this year that I really enjoyed the art style of, and I was thinking about Sifu. I really liked the way that how its art direction worked with the aging system, and just overall, I think the game was like really cool looking. Even though I had a lot of problems with other aspects of it, I really enjoyed that. Kind of hooked me. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next category. Best score in music for outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. We've got A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger, which I'm glad they put in there, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I can only really speak to two of these, but Elden Ring, man, that opening stinger, main menu, just hits you. First time you hear that, oof. And then, Metal Hellsinger, I think, is just like, I think I like the audio design of that game more so than the actual music. Like the fact that, everything is layered upon on top of each other, and like the way that you unlock new music tracks by performing and getting a higher score, and it all layering on top of each other. I mean, it is good music, but at the end of the day, it's very polarizing. I don't know. I like metal, but like you're definitely getting a metal album.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, acquired taste.
Are all the songs in that game, or most of them, like licensed, or or is there some original music in that game? I don't remember.
I believe they're all original, but feature they're all composed by Two Feathers, the alias of the composer, and they featured people like Serj Tankian and other heavy metal singers, but I believe they're all original.
Okay. Yeah, this is one where I can only really speak to 3. I did play a little bit of Metal Hellsinger, but not enough to really weigh in.
Yeah.
I guess this is the one where I'm the most sort of indifferent because of that. Of like, yeah, the games I see here, or like the 3 that I played, God of War, Elden Ring, and Plague Tale, like those have good soundtracks. I enjoy them.
Surprised to not see Splatoon 3, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I also personally made a push for Cursed to Golf, just because I really love that game's
Nice.
soundtrack.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, Neon White. That feels like that should be here too.
Yeah.
I personally really like Neon White's soundtrack.
I also this is another spot of Kirby. Kirby is a banging soundtrack. Although I do also want to specifically say, not that God of War doesn't get love, but I am a big fan of the Bear McCreary God of War soundtrack, and my my brother has a very specific taste in music, where like most of his playlists are just movie and video game scores, and so he listens to the 2018 God of War soundtrack constantly. And this game came out, and he's like, "Nice! There's a new God of War soundtrack I can listen to."
You should play the game too. It's a good game there.
He should. He doesn't have a PS5, but
Yeah, I think I would have really loved to see Halo here, honestly. I played a lot of Halo Infinite, and I mean Halo is always known for its music, but I felt like this soundtrack was like especially good and kind of updated in some cool ways. But
I think it's worth mentioning that Halo Infinite is in contention for awards because of the cutoff from last year. In case people are like tilting their heads, like, why would he mention Halo? That was last year. It's like, it came out after last year's cutoff, which it's in that cursed spot of like having to remember it for this year.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, best audio design. Weird that Metal Hellsinger isn't here. But Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh yeah, Gran Turismo 7.
They sound like cars, Kyle.
Yeah.
You know how much they probably took a microphone to like hundreds of real life cars.
I just forgot Gran Turismo 7 was that recent. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, Modern Warfare sounds good. I feel like that was the strength of Modern Warfare 1 parentheses 2019 as well. I remember like when the kill streaks would come in, like I felt like I had to like shutter myself and like shelter myself from whatever was dropping because it was so, might have just been like loud, but our brain sometimes tricks us thinking loud is good.
This is another place where I wonder, given enough time and people playing it, I think Somerville might have had a chance in audio design, because I think that's one of the highlights of that game is how it sounds.
Let's cruise. We're on 7 out of 31, so let's try to cruise. Best performance. awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. Ashley Birch in Horizon Forbidden West, Charlotte McBurney in A Plague Tale Requiem, Christopher Judge in God of War Ragnarok, Manon Gage in Immortality, and Sonny Soljic in God of War Ragnarok.
Who
He's
was
all good
Sonny?
in God of War.
Yeah.
Sonny is
Atreus.
Okay, I didn't know the actor's name. Okay.
Which honestly, that surprised me. I thought he was very good in that game. Atreus, Sonny, but I do think it's like the weakest performance in the game.
I think puberty made him suffer.
Maybe, but it wasn't. It didn't hold back the game or anything. I wasn't like, oh my god, he's bad. It was just like when you got everyone turning in A+ work, he was turning in like B+ work. Is how I felt. I really wanted to see Odin or Freya, the actress who played Freya on that list from the God of War folks. But Christopher Judge is very good too.
Oh yeah, and for Horizon, I wanted to see either the actresses that played Zoe or Alva over. Not that Ashley Birch is great as Aloy, but it was kind of just like, oh, it's more Aloy. I guess the more interesting version is like, oh, she had to play Beta, which is like a totally different character and different personality, which, I would have been down for that. But, I didn't say who it was. But yeah, I would have liked to see Zoe or Alva's performances get the nod.
Moving on to games for impact. This is for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. This is always a weird category. A Memoir Blue, As Dusk Falls, Citizen Sleeper, Endling, Extinction is Forever. I wonder what that game's about.
That's the Fox game, right?
Yeah. Hindsight, and I Was a Teenage Exocolonist.
God, Hindsight came out. Oh, man.
This is the first category I've played none of these games. Not that I haven't heard good things about them, but maybe that says something really bad about me.
Yeah.
I've played Citizen Sleeper, and I really like that.
3 of them. I played the top 3. Yeah, this is always a weird one of like, are you like, this is a personal thing of like, which of these games felt like had the most impact for me, of like they made me feel the most like good, or maybe did the most service to humanity at large, which I don't know what that means sometimes. Yeah. Just looking at some of these, I'm like, I guess like As Dusk Falls, don't commit crimes.
Right. I don't know.
Just games that are trying to say something, I guess, right? Like,
yeah. I always try to play games that don't say anything,
Tetris.
You're the guy that's always shouting, keep politics out of my games.
That's right. That is me. Best ongoing game. Pretty self-explanatory. These are games that have released in previous years, but have, been kept alive through developer support. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact.
Fortnite.
I feel like for me, Fortnite is for me.
I feel like
I played that today.
It's probably Fortnite or Final Fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, don't underestimate those Genshin people, man. They're out there.
That's true. I see tweets about it.
I mean, Fortnite with the between the no build mode and Dragon Ball Land, like those are like the 2 best things to happen this year.
I forgot no build mode came out this year. Yeah, that I feel like
changed
wins
the game.
This category for me. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm quite literally.
They added Rocket League to Fortnite today.
What?
I saw that.
You can drive up walls. That's nuts. This game is ridiculous. There should be a most ridiculous games category, and Fortnite should win every year.
Sponsored by ridiculousness.
It's most ridiculous category presented by Fortnite.
Yeah. Oh, they present. Okay, well, if they present
it wouldn't be fair.
That's fair. Present an award, their own special trophy.
Presented by Tim Sweeney.
He just complains about Apple.
I know you guys know I'm wacky and I'm ridiculous.
Hey, there's an old documentary of him climbing up in a tree in his backyard. You can track that down.
Best Indie: Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic.
There's Tunic.
Yeah.
Best Indie is like where they add like the fan voted. There's like they added a new category at the Oscars. I can't remember what it's called, but it's frustrating a certain way of like, here, and you guys get your own little pocket here, as if like
go play over here.
Yeah, like for me, some of those games were like my favorite games of the whole year.
Best
It feels
student
weird to have
film.
yeah, as if like the genres are, action adventure, racing, and indie. Like yeah, and I think it's silly, but
And that's been a criticism
games.
of the Game Awards pretty much since like, why can an indie just be the best game? Why does it? And that's what always makes me nervous. Is like, oh, if an indie game I really like, if it wins best indie, then it's not going to win Game of the Year.
Mhm.
If it's even nominated. Hades was a big one for me for that. Of like, Hades is Game of the Year material, but because I guess it's indie, it can't shatter that ceiling and go any higher.
Yeah, it's annoying.
But I'm sorry, I want to reiterate that Citizen Sleeper is getting so snubbed so far, and no mention whatsoever in anything. Not even Best Indie, which I would.
No, it was up for Games for Impact.
Oh, that one. Okay. I'm sorry. Well,
Best debut indie. I feel like we've talked a lot about our favorite indies, but Neon White, Norco, Stray, Tunic, Vampire Survivors.
there it is.
There you go.
There's Narco and Vampire Survivors.
No Signalis again on this list, which is a bummer.
Is Neon White a
or
debut?
Rollerdrome.
Really? I mean, I don't
I
know.
No.
I
guess
didn't
the
include it
studio
in ours
is, right?
because of that. It's like this has
Yeah.
been Esposito's.
It's absolutely not. He's made
Unless-
so many games.
But
the
is it
first
his
one with
studio,
his
though?
team? The team, like the what are they called?
Angel Matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was like, that has to be what they're going by.
'Cause
But
they-
yeah, I intentionally left it off of our list because I was like, well, it's technically not Ben's first game, and he's kind of the lead on this.
I guess. Yeah, I was because Donut County was the first
Yeah.
one, right? But I guess it's
Well, no,
just
he's also done. He's done a lot.
different team, different developer, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to hate on Neon White. I mean,
No, not at all.
it
No, it's great.
deserves all the awards it can get. But
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a semantics argument of it's like what is indie, quote unquote, what is debut. I don't know.
what is video games?
What is video games?
I know he also worked on Bubsy3D.com, a browser game.
Yeah, that was up for Games for Impact the year ago.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
Bubsy visits the James Terrell retrospective is an unofficial sequel to the original Bubsy 3D. It's an educational game inspired by the James Terrell retrospective. Yeah, it's also secretly an MMO. Apparently, I'm looking at Ben
Alright.
Esposito's
Secretly.
weird website of video games. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna skip that one. I'm gonna skip that one.
Wait,
I
Best
do-
That
Mobile?
one. Yeah, best
One,
mobile.
one
I
thing
just
I
wanna
want to say. Oh yeah, you go first, Marcus, please.
No, I was just gonna say that I regret not putting this in our list because it just oversight. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Best Mobile. Just gonna say it's not there. I think it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right before Game Informer, I was at GameSpot, and my title, I was the mobile guy. Like they kicked up this initiative to cover mobile games. So for a couple months there, I was covering mobile games exclusively. And the thing that kind of bums me out about this list is like most of these, with the exception of, well, I guess Apex Legends Mobile is the only one that isn't also on PC. Like all these games are also on PC. Where I would have liked to see something like Point P, which is like
Point B.
like the Towerfall creators' new game that was released via Netflix was fantastic. I love Point P.
I think it was the Downwell creator.
Oh, what did I say? Towerfall?
You said Towerfall.
Yes,
but-
you are correct, Charles. It is it's Downwell.
Downwell.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I said Downwell or Downfall.
Yeah, but like I would have liked to see more stuff like that. Point P, like dedicated mobile experiences that are made for mobile. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but those are good games. Marvel Snap's taking over the world, man.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been playing it. I finally jumped on the wagon with you guys.
Heck yeah. What do we want to talk about? Best action adventure,
Wait,
best role playing. What are you thinking?
God of War's not in Best Action?
I think
Yeah,
they
oh, wow,
separated
okay.
It's an
I
action-adventure.
just noticed that. Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess
okay.
that's
We'll
true.
talk about that.
Uh,
Best action is Bayonetta 3, Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, and TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Interesting. I'm not saying I understand the action. I just thought it would just be in both, honestly.
Best action adventure, Plague Tale Requiem. That seems odd.
Yeah, the
God of
action
War
is very-
Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, Tunic.
Yeah, solid.
Huh.
Very.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, is this one of those years where you're like, maybe there should just be a straight up adventure category.
Yeah, I think there should be, or like I don't know.
Yeah, but then that implies point and click, and it's like
I mean, we have to be the change we want to see.
That's true.
Kyle.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to be the games
and that's
for impact.
games for impact.
Best role playing: Elden Ring, Live Alive, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Sure.
Triangle
great.
strategy. I haven't played it. I thought that was more pure strategy than.
I had to edit the
playing
review on that
necessarily.
one and was not a fan based on the review footage I had.
Oh.
I was like, this is too much talking,
I-
which maybe
yeah,
makes it a good RPG. You know,
Yeah, I guess there was a
Yeah.
lot of like political intrigue and stuff, but yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's fine.
best fighting game. This is an interesting one. DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All Star Battle R, King of Fighters 15, Multiverses, and Sifu. Which Sifu isn't a fighting game, which is
Yeah, how did that
very
sneak
weird.
on
It's-
there? That's funny.
It shows kind of reflective of the year in fighting games, right?
I mean, you could have put Rumbleverse on there.
I
Like, that's more of one.
I put it on ours. Just saying. But yeah, I mean that would have. I don't remember if the description said something like you could put like single player or non-traditional fighting games.
Hold on, I'm gonna find
but,
out.
like,
Here we go.
I mean, it feels like this category is always weird. Of like, if it's not a year when one of the big fighting games comes out, then it's kind of like.
Here's
nothing's happening,
the
right?
the description for best fighting is for the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat.
I see Seafood does not
Which
have
is
head-to-head
like-
combat.
I mean, that's every multiplayer game. Like Call of Duty
Yeah,
is designed
yeah.
around head-to-head. But I mean, JoJo is a re-release of a game that came out 10 years ago. It's not a new game. I mean, I get it's gonna. I guess it comes down to really DNF Duel, King of Fighters.
You could
and-
have. I saw some online people were saying like, well, you could have done like Guilty Gear Strive Season 2 or something if you're really hurting on things to add to the list.
Yeah. Do you want to set that precedent though of like a game's seasons can be nominated individually?
I just can't wait for Tunic to be included in best racing game. Personally.
For speedrunning.
Best family game, sure.
Immortality.
Yep. We got Kirby, Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, not Marvel Rabbids, Mario plus Rabbids.
I would
Sparks
play
of Hope,
that.
Single player.
Absolutely would play that.
Nintendo Switch Sports, Splatoon 3. I think my family would like those. Kyle, you're the only one with a family.
Mm.
The rest of us,
The best of us here.
The
Or
rest
I'm
of
an
us are
orphan.
alone. We're all alone. What's it like having a family, Kyle,
Oh my
that
gosh.
plays video games together?
It's amazing. I don't know.
Actually, the
My
only game I
daughter-
play with
my
my
daughter
family is Fortnite.
Turned her nose at all of these, except for
Oh.
Splatoon 3. She did play a match of Splatoon 3 with me. So if we're going off of her interest, Splatoon 3, clear winner here.
My wife also loved Splatoon 3. The first game she's played since Animal Crossing.
Mario Rabbids, I get why it's there because it's Mario, but like, am I gonna sit with my family like, hey, you guys want to watch me slowly plot out my turns for like a half hour?
I mean,
Hey, y'all, check out
Yeah.
this the way this Mario Rabbid speaks.
it is odd. It's a strictly single player game. It's weird to have that for family,
think-
but
I would just assume family is like, E10 plus and lower rating.
You can have it
Yeah.
on while your kids are in the background.
Yeah.
I'm
or
less.
a kid could play it. I don't know.
A kid could run up to be like, "Do you want to watch me play Splatoon 3?" And you're like, I guess.
I'm less offended by Mario Rabbids here than I am Sifu in Best Fighting. Let me just say that.
Mm.
Yeah. Best multiplayer: Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Multiversus, Overwatch 2, Splatoon 3, Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's anything missing there.
I'm looking at my list.
Yeah.
Elden Ring has multiplayer.
Honestly, I mean, and
I'm
it
not
is
being serious,
interesting.
but I mean, people did play the game.
I played a lot more
legitimately.
Elden Ring multiplayer than anything else on here, with the exception of maybe Splatoon. I did play a fair bit of Splatoon, but
Should it be in fighting too? Because you can fight other players head to head in Elden Ring.
That's true.
When they invade your game, those are more intense than any fighting game battle.
I mean, honestly,
They should have a non-fighting game category is what there should be. Like, I feel like you could
Everything
categorize
else.
most of these as ones where you fight other players or characters.
yeah.
I haven't played Overwatch 2 yet, or Splatoon 3, even though I do love Splatoon. I like seeing Shredder's Revenge get the nod, even though it's pretty much
Yeah, that
just
game's fun.
old school multiplayer. But if you get a full party of 6 players, it is very fun chaos.
I'm looking through the rest of the categories. I think we can call it there.
You don't want to talk
I'll
about
say-
best
You want our
esports team?
most anticipated?
Okay, yeah, sure. Most anticipated. This will be the last one.
Tears of the Kingdom and a few others. Like, what else?
Yeah.
Best most anticipated presented by Tears of the Kingdom.
Exactly.
Final
that's how I
Fantasy.
feel
This
anyway.
is
I
like
don't know.
such a weird category again. Like, it just kind of like
It's kind of more marketing than anything, right?
Yeah.
It's like a weird like survey for developers to be like, are we doing a good job marketing our
Yeah.
game? They didn't vote us for most anticipated.
They can throw it on
it's
the launch
Final
trailer.
Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, and the only game that matters, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm surprised Hogwarts made it. Should have a category called most conflicted feelings.
Yeah. Most anticipated game I won't talk about publicly.
I was about to say, game you won't admit you played publicly.
You'll never
Yeah.
know we played this. I guess, yeah, I mean, it's Zelda's up against like Starfield and Final Fantasy are like, they're not nothing.
Mhm.
But do you want to predict where you think people will go?
I'm not even going to predict. I'm going to tell you it's going to go Tears of the Kingdom.
You think? Because Starfield, it's got a lot of buzz out there, but
All right.
you're probably right though.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's save this clip and just put it side by side with the announcement of Starfield winning.
I realized we didn't do predictions this year, so no steak dinners on the line.
Oh no.
Thank God, man. My wallet can't handle it.
Well, you have to win, Alex.
I forgot that's an option. I always lose.
You're just so generous with steak.
It's true, yeah. Let's move on to topic of the week. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is finally coming out. Myself, Charles, and Kyle have been playing it. Marcus wishes he was cool enough to play it. Yeah. What do we think about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? I've been playing Violet. What have you been playing, Charles?
I have Scarlet.
And how about you, Kyle?
Scarlet, me and Charles are cool.
Okay. Yeah. I wish I would have gotten Scarlet. But that's not how the cookie crumbled. So I have played about probably 4 to 5 hours of this game. I have opened up the world. It kind of starts in a more, linear fashion, and then get to a certain point and you can kind of go and tackle the game and its content in whatever really order you wish. So you can go and, go do side stuff. You can go just tackle the gyms. You can go and collect Pokemon. But yeah, I kind of just went about the normal way of like, I'm going to go start with some gyms. And I kind of went in the direction that they kind of point you in to the west, which is like the olive farm area. I don't know if you've been there. That's kind of the direction I went in. And so far it's been cool. I think this game has a lot of technical issues. And it's kind of like a big distraction, unfortunately.
Frame rate's not great.
Yeah,
Not great. I will say isn't there a day one patch that we haven't played yet?
So I think in the email the way it's worded is that there is a patch that will be available day one, but it came out last Friday. So it is there now. I played it before that patch and it was rougher than it is now. So that did smooth them things out. But yeah, I was going to say I'm a big fan of Pokemon. I played a lot of Pokemon games. And this is probably the first one where like the technical issues and just the way it looks have kind of been enough to like put me off of it a little. Like, I think it's a good move to go to the open world. I think it's like an interesting decision, but a lot of the times, like in Breath of the Wild, if you see, the mountains in the distance, you're like, oh, what a pretty view. And here, like, I see the mountains in the distance and I'm like, oh, it's like some like brown blobs. And I don't know enough about like graphics and art to say like what needs to change in it, but I just feel like it doesn't look that good. And I'm upset to have that opinion. A lot of times when you catch a Pokemon on a hill, the camera will clip into the ground as it gets in the Pokeball. That's happened to me pretty reliably like a dozen times.
If you catch a Pokemon in the water, the Pokeball will be like doubled. Like there'll be
yeah,
two
yeah, in the
Pokeballs.
weird, yeah.
Yeah.
For all that being said, though, I do like the openness of it, right? I like that it all takes place sort of like I almost would take the camera clipping to be able to sort of have everything take place in the actual environment in terms of like fighting and catching the Pokemon and stuff. And I also love that like you can kind of just instantly defeat Pokemon and get experience without having to enter a match. That's like a game changer for me. That was like that was very, very exciting. I love that.
Me too. Yeah, so there's I think you press like the right bumper or something, and it'll send out your partner Pokemon, which you can, change in the menu. And it will go off. It will collect items for you, so you don't have to run and get them. It will go and attack enemies, and the determination, it's like an auto battle. So it's based on like, I guess, the type and strength of the Pokemon fighting. I haven't had a situation where I've ever lost one of those. I think you might lose some health.
Yeah.
Your Pokemon might lose some health, but that's about it. I will say there's been a couple times where I've like stumbled upon some like actually tough Pokemon. There's some that like kind of shine in the sky. There'll be like a pillar of light somewhere in the open world, and you can go and fight them, and they're like, I think they're just like higher level, or I forget.
I think that they have like cool Terra types.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the main new mechanics is the terastallizing
Terrastalizing is how I
Terrastallizing, thank you. I didn't have the word in front of me. Terrastallizing. Which turns your Pokemon into a crystallized version with this very silly giant crown on their head.
What?
And the crown could be like a giant heart or like a giant candelabra if it's like a flame type.
Can it be tilted like Biggie Smalls?
I have seen that, yeah, on Snorlax.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Snorlax, of course.
Yeah, his Terra type is actually Biggie. But because he's a big guy,
Yes.
And but the interesting thing, and I haven't really messed around too much with this yet, but your Pokemon can have like their normal form, right? Their normal type. And then when you terrastallize them, they can turn into a new type, or like their powers, like flamethrower, for instance, could suddenly be imbued with like another energy type. If I'm interpreting that right.
I think it's slightly different.
Okay.
So usually a Pokemon's Terra type, just a normal Pokemon you catch in the wild, is just going to be its main type or like one of its two types. I don't know how that's determined, if it's like a normal flying type. But there's some Pokemon you can get from like Terra Raid battles or like the shiny ones. And they'll have an alternate Terra type where when you activate it now, so I caught, or you know what? I don't want to say Pokemon that I caught. Let's just say, for example, Sprigatito is like one of the starter Pokemon. If theoretically you got a cool Sprigatito that was a Terra type, it's normally a grass type, but then you could terrastallize it and say make it like a dragon type. Which is really cool because
will its moves be subbed out?
The moves are the same. It's just its defensive type changes, but then it also gets same type attack bonus if it uses like a dragon move. And I think that's really cool because I feel like we've gotten, Dynamaxing and Z moves, and even to a certain extent, like Mega Evolution is all very much like you got a Pokemon and now they're bigger and do more damage. And I'm interested to see how this comes out competitively to be like, well, everyone knows the best counter to, a Groudon is a water type move, but what if I've got a Groudon with a Terra type that's grass? Like, what are you going to do now? How is that going to change, the meta and your strategy? Or, I think it's really cool to make up for like a type weakness and to psych out your opponent by changing something else. But you have to go through some work to get a Pokemon of a different Terra type. Most of the time, it's just the same type.
So that's cool. The open world nature of it, I'm of two minds. I find myself running through areas. I'll like see what Pokemon are around, and then I'll just kind of I'll just kind of run around and battle. Like I do kind of, there's a certain element of surprise that is now missing. And I did kind of like that of the random battles back in the day. It was like, you really never know what's on the other side of that battle screen, and sometimes it's a really surprising Pokemon that like, oh, I got, there's a Pikachu in Viridian Forest. I got super lucky here. Whereas I feel like I don't really have that same sense since all of the Pokemon are in the environment, and also all of the Pokemon, I mean, the textures and everything of the open world just look not great. And so it's just like, and also some Pokemon are like minuscule.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
hard
I
to
can't.
see.
I've like accidentally run over Pokemon that I didn't even know were there. They're so small.
Is it weird that I kind of like that though? I don't know. It feels
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just an
Yeah.
observation.
like even the first couple that I caught. I remember because they're all accurate sized in the world, so I was like, oh, look at that little guy. I don't think I have him. And then you can walk up to him is how you catch them as opposed to throwing your Pokemon at them. So like that was something that I actually was like, I like this. It makes the world feel more real when they're the right sizes.
I'm excited to see how the big ones are gonna look because I haven't seen those yet.
How does the open world design compare to Arceus? Better or worse?
I like it better.
I don't like it as much because I feel like the open world, I wish it scaled properly. It doesn't really do that. I made it a mission to be like, what if I go to a gym that like seems pretty far away and I try to explore over there? Definitely way too high level. The Pokemon over there were too high. So I came back, and then it becomes a weird thing of like, I almost felt like I needed to figure out the order the game wanted me to do the things in so that my Pokemon were at the appropriate level. Because sometimes you use something and it's like a little too hard. And then you go back and it's like, oh, I'm over leveled for this now. And the thing I at least like about Legend Arceus is it's in the little, pockets of the world that you go visit, but at least it feels like you're in the correct spot every time you're there.
Yeah, I like that it feels like there's like a real sense of place, I feel like.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really cool to be like, okay, well, I'm going to head over to the next town, and in between is like this giant open area, and I can go to that town if I want, or I could just like bypass it. And that's a cool feeling. Like, whereas, obviously in other Pokemon games, like if that's on the path, it's on the path, I really like that. I like the starters. For one, I picked Fuecoco. I think I'm like one level away from the fire one.
It's he's got like the big dumb smile.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I went with him.
The
too.
Fire Croc Pokemon.
He's like he's the not cute one. I feel like.
Yeah, but
What?
he reminds me of Totodile a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think I'm one level from hitting my mid-tier evolution on Fuecoco, and I'm very excited to see what that looks like. I'm up to the Olive Town gym leader. I don't know their name, but it's like the grass bug type. I think.
This bug, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed about like the open world was like I was going through a lot of orchards, and like there's a lot of like Smolives, or I think that's the right Pokemon. I think we can talk about that one. Smolives, and I was like,
Bleep it out just to be safe.
yeah. Anything that's not Pikachu, just bleep out. And it was really cool because I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now. Like this town is like their whole thing is like growing olives, and like so there's like a pre-gym challenge. In order to fight the gym leader, you have to beat a certain challenge, which includes rolling a giant olive through an obstacle course. And if you want to unlock shortcuts in the obstacle course, you can fight trainers, and you have to like prove yourself before being able to fight the gym leader. Was that a mechanic introduced in Sword and Shield? I'm trying to think.
Where
Or
was
is that?
it was like puzzles almost. I
Yeah.
think that might have been Sun and Moon actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
really that
Yeah.
long ago? Wow. I don't know. It was fun. I haven't fought any gym leaders yet. I just finished the challenge, and then we had to podcast. So TBD on like challenge and that kind of thing. But I kind of picked the easy one because I'm rocking a fire type. But yeah, Charles, you're a little further into the game. What are your thoughts on stuff that's a little later on?
Yeah, first I want to say I feel like I've been jumping in to say all the things I dislike about the game. I do
Fair.
I do enjoy this game. I have had a good time with it, and I think my vibe of it right now is if you like Pokemon and you're interested in trying out a new style of Pokemon game where it's a little bit more open world, I think you're probably going to like it. I think there's at a certain point now, if you're a Pokemon fan, you kind of know if you're once you buckle in and you get a few hours in, you're like, all right, I'm invested. I'm going to play this game. And that's kind of the vibe I have from this and what I have from the last number of Pokemon games. We talked about seeing the Pokemon in the open world. There's something really cool about. I don't know a lot of these Pokemon. I'm almost surprised by the number I've seen that I haven't seen in like a trailer or something, because I've been
that's exciting.
writing them up. And there's something really cool about like seeing a Pokemon in the distance and being like, what is that? And then getting close and being like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what this is. This is a cool new Pokemon I found. And that joy I have just never like felt in a Pokemon game before. I don't know if I'm just always so plugged in and I just know what all the new ones are or what it is, but like I've caught like 2 or 3 of like some of my new favorite Pokemon because I just saw them in the distance and I was like, oh my gosh, what is that cool thing?
Oh, that's exciting.
I can't say what it is. I don't think it's been revealed, but I'll tell you, I caught a shiny on the first route in my first hour of gameplay, full odds shiny. And I was like, okay, Pokemon.
I have a question. How do you know it's a shiny? Did it just look different? Was there like an aura about it?
It's a returning Pokemon.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember specifically what Pokemon we can't say are in it, so I didn't want to be specific.
Yeah. But like, do shiny Pokemon in this game like have a aura around them so you know it's a shiny from a distance?
Gotcha. I did not. What I did was I threw the Pokeball at it. I actually thought at first it was like a regional form. I was like, oh, cool. It's like a Paldean version of this Pokemon. And then I started to battle with it, and then I got like the sparks that was like, I'm a shiny. So once you start the battle, you'll know.
Okay. So don't accidentally have your Pokemon auto battle it.
Yes. Oh gosh. Oh, that's definitely. I give it a week, and we're gonna have
fear unlocked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss
some
all the
viral Twitch clip
because I'm auto battling everything. I don't want to engage in that turn based. Just kill everything. If it's new, I'll walk.
But I think you get less XP for auto battling, don't you?
I don't care. I can do like 4 auto battles in the time it would take me to do one.
That's fair. It is nice when you're like, oh, I just need to do like Pokemon's almost evolved or almost leveled up. It's like, okay, let me just run around on my mount.
Yeah.
And just like hold that and yeah.
I also wanted to say I think it's an interesting thing. The trainers in this game are all optional. So you battle trainers now by walking up to them and just talking to them. It's not that they look at you and then you're trapped in a battle. And I think it's really interesting that like an old Pokemon route, it would be as you're walking along, you can optionally go find the wild Pokemon, but the obstacles are the trainers in your way. And now separate from that, it's the obstacles are there's this tiny bug running across the road. And if you don't want to hit it, you got to, juke around it. And then optionally, you can go talk to the trainers if you want to do that. So I actually have gone through whole routes and been like, oh, I didn't fight anyone because I didn't even think to.
I'm excited for the no trainer Pokemon runs on Twitch.
Yes.
Where it's like, fighting the gym leader with like a level 6 Pokemon. One thing I really like about this game, and I think it's unfortunate because the technical limitations like hinder its true potential, but like in like story moments and just like general like talking to NPCs and stuff, I feel like there's like a higher quality of like presentation. Like there's some moments where I felt like there was a couple times where I felt like I was playing like a Persona game when a character was talking to me, and like in the school, right? No spoilers or anything for that, but like when like when the camera's switching between characters that are talking to you, instead of like them just standing there, everyone kind of standing with a third person camera, and like text boxes just changing, like the way that there was like a lot of animations in the characters and like the way the camera would like cycle through all those animations and like switch back and forth. It really felt like an evolution of like the series presentation of characters and story. Like it stuck out to me. All of that is kind of mired in this, man, that's a rough looking asset. And that texture is like, looks like it's like an N64 texture, but I think there's a lot of potential here. And I think it's definitely time for a new piece of hardware.
Yeah.
If they're going to continue to try to push the formula forward in that way.
I feel like this year more than any other in the Switch's life cycle, the sentiment of man, this thing's getting long in the tooth. Has popped up with more and more games this year between this, Bayonetta.
I think even with like the Steam Deck, another handheld that came out that can run games better.
That was the thing for me. But they announced Portal for Switch, and I was so excited. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play Portal on my Switch. And then the day it came out, I was like, oh yeah, I have a Steam Deck now, and I have both Portals on there already. Like,
Yeah,
I don't need to get this, as much as I would have been really excited about that a year ago.
Yeah, but yeah. Anything else, Charles? Before you're kind of the furthest out of all of us. Anything else you want to touch on before we move on to the playlist?
I think I basically got it on. Like my summary would be like, there's technical graphical issues, and I think that's a bummer. I think there's a good game kind of buried under there. And I mean, I hope we get like another patch or two in the first few months after it comes out, because I just think it is distracting. Like, I think Kyle used that word earlier of like, man, it'd be nice if I personally, Charles, I don't care about graphics. I don't think it should matter. If I'm playing a game and I'm catching Pokemon, I don't even want to think about it. It's fine. And the fact that it's come up enough times that I've been like, oh, I wish this looked different, is a shame.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to like the out of tune trumpet sound TikToks of this game that are definitely going to be clipped out. Exactly.
It's going to be stuck in my head all day now. God.
But yeah, so I think that that does it for Pokemon. Let's move on. Marcus, you haven't talked in a minute. We've been I'm sorry, we didn't mean to leave you out.
It's okay.
The cool people were talking about the cool game of the week. It's fine. But let's talk about Harvestella.
Hey, so this came out over a week ago now. I've been playing a lot of it, and you might remember seeing it at a Nintendo Direct a few months ago. It was kind of the standout for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A big head turner of like, what's that RPG farming thing? And yeah, it's exactly what I said. It's an action RPG, kind of combines dungeon crawling with farming and life sim stuff, where you play. So this is in true JRPG fashion, you play as a character with amnesia who awakens in a small town, and you find out that,
all right,
in addition to the 4 normal seasons that it has, there is a 5th season called Quietus, which is the season of death. And it kind of comes in between the normal seasons.
Oh.
And so this game has a pretty wild plot, actually, in a way that I didn't expect, where on top of you waking up and having no idea who you are, you partner up with a girl who comes from the future, like the future. And she doesn't know why she's there. And, she's like, oh yeah, I got high tech stuff here. I guess I'm in medieval times. What's going on over? Why am I here? And you guys are basically running buddies for the rest of the game. You live together, you sleep together in separate beds, and potentially maybe form a relationship. I don't know. There's like a whole relationship building system in this game. And you're pretty much trying to figure out who you are and who she is, and to try to get her back to her own time, on top of like other sort of like save the world stuff at play.
Through the power of farming.
Yes, and also just maintaining like a nice farm on top of everything else. So I love action RPGs. Farming games I've only recently kind of slowly gotten into. Like I reviewed Ooblets earlier this year. I liked Slime Rancher, which has some farming stuff in it. Never played Stardew, which makes me a fake farming fan. So in terms of like, does this game kind of blend those two things well? I think for the most part, like I'm enjoying the game enough so far. I should probably start with that. Like I think it's an enjoyable game. I think it has a lot of flaws though so far. I think the action RPG aspect, because it's like a job-based system, like you have like 10, I think, jobs that you can swap between. You can equip 3 at a time. But I think the combat at its core is pretty vanilla. Like you do unlock some new, like each job has its own skill tree. And, some jobs are better than others. There's definitely ones that I think are pretty cool. Just like a shadow assassin one that's like really melee heavy. And you're doing these pretty like fun combos. But it's also pretty simplistic. Like you're pretty much just mashing square. And then occasionally doing like a special move by hitting the shoulder trigger. But I think overall it's nothing special. It's just competent, I'd say. But I think also some of the jobs, the combat is just kind of bad. And I actively avoid using them. I think the farm stuff is also just kind of like fine. You know, it's like, okay, I'm planning my stuff. I'm expanding my farm. I got some animals that I can raise, or at least 2 different animals. I don't think you can get more from what I've seen, but you know, and then you unlock different biomes of like, oh, you got your regular farm, but you can have a cave farm. And certain vegetables can only grow in a cave with just dirt, no water. And then there's a water biome where like only these vegetables can grow in the water, and some vegetables can only grow during different seasons. So it's a lot of managing of like, okay, I should probably stockpile on strawberries because once spring leaves, I can't grow strawberries. So, and you're using these vegetables to do multiple things. You can sell them for like profit. You can use them to make recipes, which is really important because you have like a stamina meter that you have to manage because you know you get hungry. So you're going to be constantly cooking stuff. You can even deliver dishes to different town folk for like to build out their restaurant menus to get some extra cash. And this game just has a ton to do. And I think the game does a good job of giving you plenty of like activities. One of my complaints with Ooblets is that in between the main stuff, there was really nothing to do but farm. And then when you're waiting for things to grow, you're literally just meandering. This game has plenty of side quests. I think the side quests are pretty like either bad or just sort of like busy work. You know, I think some of the stories attached to them are like decent, but I also think some of them are a little tedious and most of the stories are pretty benign or whatever. But they at least make it worth your while to do them. Like you get some decent rewards like money and seeds to grow your stuff. There's also like, I think my favorite side quests are the relationship building stuff. They do like sort of a Mass Effect thing of like, oh, all your party members have their own individual threads that you can do. And, you know, the more you engage with their stories, the closer you like, the more your bond builds, and you get some good character rewards of like, okay, I helped out this womanizing shipbuilder guy who's in my party, but every time I help him, my physical attack goes up. So it actually behooves me to spend some time with him because I want to be, you know, I want to hit things harder. But I think one of the things I'm having trouble with is the game's pacing. This game is a very, very slow rollout of the more interesting, like, not only farming stuff, but just abilities. Like, the 3rd chapter of the game is very meaty, which is surprising because the first 2 are pretty quick. And then the 3rd one's like, here's 3 different very long quests that you have to do. And each one unlocks a very crucial part of your farm. And so I think if you're into farming games like an enthusiast, I could see people bouncing off before maybe even getting to that point or finishing it because maybe you're used to having more robust options earlier on in these kind of games than you do in this one. And I think a lot of that's because they have to balance the sort of like action RPG, like epic story stuff of like, okay, you need to go do some story missions, you know, go run this dungeon for a bit. And then once you do that a few times, you know, you'll advance the plot to where, hey, now I can do this big thing on my farm. Because there's like a day-night cycle and everything, and you also have to be home at a certain time to sleep. Like if you stay out too late, like past midnight, your character will literally pass out and you'll just warp back home. And then you have to pay a very expensive doctor's fee from the person, like the town doctor that has to like escort you home. So it's actually annoying. So you kind of have to plan everything around like, all right, I have this many hours left. I don't think I have enough time in the day to do a story quest. Maybe I can knock out a side quest and then go home and sleep, which there was some fun to that of like trying to maximize each day of like, okay, here's everything I need to do. Here's everything I want to do. What's the best order to do this in terms of like where they're located on the town map? And okay, if this is on the way, maybe I'll bang this out. And then it starts to feel like real life of like, and then I think I can save the world by 10 o'clock tonight. Maybe, I don't know. We'll
Very
see.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I don't want to pass out and pay like $700. But I think that like the pacing is my biggest issue because the way everything's gated, because you're kind of at the mercy of the meters and stuff. If you're interested in the plot, which I think the plot is actually interesting enough because of how wild it is that I there's been times where like I kind of just want to mainline this, but I can't because either I do need to take time to farm to get more. Like I have to cook to have more supplies because I'm like out of them and I can't run this dungeon without like 50 omelets in my wallet, or
That is such a video game sentence. I can't do this without 50 omelets in my wallet. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yep, that makes sense.
Reasonable.
I make so many ketchup omelets, you have no idea, Kyle. Or even just there are some times where nothing's happening. Like you just have to wait. You're like, okay, I'm in between main story beats. What do I do now? And then it literally the mission's just like, oh, just hang out. Just wait. You'll see. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna do some random stuff for a day until, things pick back up. Which again, I think if you want some like a RPG thing that's a little bit more laid back and you don't mind losing control of when you can advance the story, I think that's kind of cool. But I think it's also it can get in its own way sometimes with that stuff. But also going back to the technical stuff, this game has a lot of technical issues. There's a weird graphical glitch I keep seeing that I've never seen in a Switch game, where intermittently sometimes the right side of the screen will get like sort of like a colored block will appear. Like it almost looks like there's like an HDMI issue, right? Of like it's like, oh, here's just a blue square that's like overlaid on the right side of the screen, and
that's a power up.
Oh, okay. It's because I ate the blueberries and just the game's letting me know. And at first I thought it was like a problem with my dock. I played this game kind of 50-50 between dock and handheld. So I was like, okay, maybe like it's my HDMI like jiggling or something. But then it happened last night when I was playing handheld like a lot. And I was like, what is happening here? And it was like green. So I don't know what's going on with that. But even when it's not kind of like glitchy or some popping stuff, I think fidelity wise, the game is not super great, especially on a TV. Like when you blow it up, it just looks kind of bad and sort of muddy, the textures. And even though this game, even the art design it's simplified by design, but even then it still just looks rough in some spots. So yeah, this is another one where I was like, even when you kind of simplify things down, the Switch is just really long in the tooth for maybe something of this scale.
Watching my family play it over their shoulder, I will say, and this is just secondary, like you can confirm for me, Marcus, I feel like it runs okay. Like it looks like it runs pretty smoothly, even if it's kind of muddy, right?
Yeah, it runs fine. I think the combat, which I think that's important. The combat runs fine, and
well, that's good. Okay.
I don't remember really any glaring like frame rate issues or anything like that. I think it's just more visually. It's just like, oh, I wish this was like smoother or on like a machine that was a little bit stronger. Because I think the art design looks nice, even if it isn't super remarkable. It looks like a B tier Square Enix game, basically. But there's some stuff where like, oh, that's a cool design on that monster. I just wish it maybe looked sharper. But I think by and large, it's like I said, I'm enjoying myself. I feel like maybe I've been a little overly negative of it. Maybe because it's satisfying the spinning multiple plates part of my brain. It's like it feels good to have like a bunch of things and meters going, and you kind of when you get things lined up, are like, okay, I know these tomatoes are gonna be ready by tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'm gonna take these tomatoes to the shop guy, and he's gonna I'm gonna give him a pizza, and then I'm gonna go do a save the world mission and be done by 8:00 tonight because there's a mission at 9:00 that I can only do at that time, and I'm gonna go do it. And when you kind of line everything up and do it all perfectly, it feels like good in like a time management way.
Yeah.
But I think other things are just there's nothing really like overly exceptional. I think the best stuff is just pretty competent at best. And then everything else, it's kind of writing that line of like, this is just okay so far. This is just fine. But I'd be curious, Kyle, how is your family liking it? Are they pretty deep in it, or?
Honestly, kind of like you, where it's like they're like, it seems fine. Maybe I should play Mario Rabbids instead. I don't know. I'll keep playing this. Is kind of the reaction.
Okay. Yeah, because I know you told me your wife's really into farming sims. So I was like, is she digging that aspect of it at all?
I think, yeah. It seems like it's more combat focused. Like it's almost more JRPG than farming sim in the end.
Yeah, it is.
But it kind of evens out, it sounds like, as long as you give it the time.
Yeah, if you get far enough in the game, like I said, it unlocks more things to do with the farm. You can totally make it, you can decorate the farm. At least so far, I've gotten like different fences I can put up, which is something, I guess. I don't know if it gets any deeper than that. I would imagine so. But yeah, I'd say it's definitely, if you want something that's purely farming, maybe don't pick this up because it is a lot of like action RPG stuff. But if you are a fan of both of those genres, I think this is a pretty solid middle ground from what I've played so far. I've played a lot, but from what I am, I still have a long way to go. And the reason we don't have a review up, guys, is that I got code like the day before it launched. So if you're like, where's the review, guys? It's like, still working through it. And this is a game that, like I said, you play at its own pace. So
yeah. Well, cool. Also, you were talking about technical stuff, and it reminded me that I called Pokemon Legends RC or Violet that I had N64 graphics. I just wanna very much clarify that was an
Double
exaggeration.
down on that. Oh, okay,
You're
exaggerate.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. I
like,
think
"Oh,
actually
NES graphics."
SNES. Yeah, no, just an exaggeration. All right, a big exaggeration. I don't want people coming for me. All right, we got 2 more games left to chat about real quick. Kyle, you feel like talking about Somerville?
Yeah, let's do it. It's so I think I've been pronouncing it
Somerville?
but
I was gonna ask, like, is it officially Somerville?
I don't know. It's
I will tell you this. I changed my name. It's a long story. My last name's always been Van Aken, but my mom's last name was spelled Somers, and they accidentally put that on my birth certificate instead of my dad's last name when I was born. So it was this whole thing where, like, through school I was Van Aken, and then when I was 18 years old, I found out my last name actually wasn't Van Aken. It was Summers the whole time. And it was this whole thing, but that's how we pronounced it.
okay.
But
Yeah, and the studios.
that's we're one family out of. I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. I'm tired.
The studios in Guildford, England. So I don't know. I mean,
Somas, mate.
Somerville. But it doesn't matter because it's never spoken because there's no dialogue in the game at all. It's very much in the school of Inside and Limbo and Little Nightmares. It's kind of like in that genre, right? But it is very much. It feels very Spielberg. It feels very Close Encounters Spielberg as opposed to like later Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's you're a father. You're kind of your family. You have a dog and a wife and a small toddler, and like an alien invasion happens, and it really is very intense and cool the way it happens. The visuals of this game are spectacular. Just like the presentation is amazing. The director is actually like former like animation, like he worked on a lot of animated films. Like he's a guy. He has like a Hollywood background, and it's just this really stirring, interesting, really pretty, like linear kind of story where you're just trying to survive during this alien invasion, and the story gets insane and it goes places you don't expect it to go, and it's got a great ending. I've played through the game 3 times already in full, just because I really love this genre of game. Like it's not even like you get a different ending or extra context, so there's not even really a lot of secrets in the game, but it's just like the second it was over, it's like I just want to see that again. I just want to experience that sort of that adventure again, and kind of know how to tackle all the puzzles and stuff, which makes it all the more cinematic because you kind of know what you're doing and moving through this world. And as I kind of hinted at earlier, like the sound design is really stellar. Like just the sort of soft explosions happening in the background and the weird sound effects of all this alien technology. It's really cool, but the big thing about it is it's just kind of there are technical inefficiencies where like little animations don't work correctly, or like it's hard to grab that handle for that puzzle when it really shouldn't be. And then even there are some of the puzzles aren't as clear as they should be, and I found myself like finding solutions sometimes where I was like which is like the worst thing you want in like an environmental puzzle game, where you're kind of like, oh, that's the solution. Okay, I guess that works, and there was just like 2 or 3 of those moments where I was like, that's what I was supposed to do. Okay, all right, but like those, I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10, and I kind of really wavered on that of whether I should go higher or not. And it's because when it's really singing and it's really cool, and like there's just like these giant purple sort of lights coming out from the sky, and they're chasing you through the woods, and it just looks so intense and cool. Like it really sings, and it's really cool. But then you just hit those couple of moments where you kind of stumble, and it brings it down. But yeah, Somerville, like it's a cool game. It looks great. Like go check out the trailer if nothing else. Like it's just like it's the presentation of it. It's a very presentational game, and it when it's working, it's really cool.
Have you played it since it launched? Like, have they patched it to where is it better now?
So I played it right before it launched, and it was really rough. And then I stopped halfway through, and there was a day one patch that I was able to apply on PC, and continued playing it and finished it. And there were still some hiccups, and then I was like, well, let me give it one more go. So I played it again, and it was, better, but still not quite there. And then when it launched on Xbox yesterday, it's on Game Pass, by the way, downloaded it and played it again just because I've been enjoying it so much. So the Series X version was the most stable version. Like if you have the choice, I would play it on your Series X on a big old TV in 4K with loudspeakers or headphones, because like sound design really just like stellar for this. Really, it's definitely one of those like turn the lights down and turn the headphone volume up kind of games. Like let it like take in the presentation of it all. It's not you're not min-maxing like stats, or like you're not taking your time, you're not farming, right? It's not this time consuming thing. It's all about presentation and the moment to moment sort of things that are happening in the game. But yeah, so Xbox I think was like the cleanest, best version to play if you have a choice.
Nice.
Can I ask how long it is? Because you've played it so many times.
Yeah, so my first playthrough was like about 5 hours or so. And then like for my third playthrough where I really knew what I was doing, I got through in like 3 hours.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so like a kind of that 3 to 6 zone, depending on if you're getting stuck on puzzles and stuff like that.
Is this the storytelling, comparing it to Limbo and Inside? You think, is this the most sort of like overt or explicit story? Like, 'cause whenever I think of Inside, so much of that is kind of up to interpretation. Is this one a little bit more straightforward? Or
there are certainly moments of interpretation. Near the end is where it kind of gets the most sort of interpretive and abstract, but it makes sense, right? I have theories about things that are happening that I'm not sure about, that I would love to discuss with folks when they finish the game. But overall, like it is a game with like a beginning, middle, and end, with a story that has a few abstract moments that you can kind of attribute to, like, I don't really know what these invaders are or what they work or how they communicate. But it's not like little nightmares, right? Where it's like, am I in a dream? Like Limbo, it's like, is any of this reality? Like, it's not quite there. You are in an actual reality where things are happening up until the end. Then things get a little wishy-washy, but in a really fascinating way.
Okay, that's exciting. I'm a sucker for alien movies or stories where they don't explain what the aliens are, which I know is kind of weird, but I like that.
It's high praise, but this is the most sort of like I've enjoyed an alien invasion story in a video game since like Half-Life 2. Like just just the tone and the setting and like
I feel like you gotta
here.
write something about that.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, honestly, yeah, maybe I will write something about that, because like Half-Life 2 is just so good at like dropping you in this place with the Combine having already taken over, and you're just trying to figure out like, well, what happened while I was gone? Why are things this way? And Somerville is kind of like almost you were there when things started going awry, and you get to kind of see. You get to see what's happening and try to figure out how to stay alive without knowing what's going on, right? Like it does a really good job of that.
It gives me almost a Quiet Place vibes, maybe because it's like, oh, it's focused on this small family, and they're just trying to survive this alien thing that you don't really know where they came from or what's going on. That's not really important. It's just stay away from them if you can.
Yeah, it's a much more intimate story, right? Of like, it's not like, oh, I got to figure out what these aliens are and how can we defeat them? It's like, where's my kid? It's kind of like the question being asked, which I love. I like that sort of approach.
Same.
Check it out. It's on Game Pass.
I've that's been one of my most anticipated of the year, and I'm really excited to hear you are digging it.
I am.
Man, I can't wait. That I might play that before Ragnarok. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna fit it in.
I mean, it's
short. I'm waiting on Ragnarok because I'm traveling for the holidays, and I don't think I'll be able to beat it before then. And my holidays, unfortunately, are going to be like filled with like personal family stuff, so I don't think I'm going to be able to like play a long game. That's why I'm waiting on God of War. But sounds like Somerville, I could maybe pack my Series S and play over the course of a few nights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Were you playing Mario Rabbids? That's a good
That's a
family
good
game.
one,
I heard.
I played a little on
That's
Steam
true.
Deck, and it was a little stuttery,
Uh,
but so still not quite the ideal. But I wonder if by the time you're listening to this, if maybe it's gotten a nice. I don't think it's Steam Deck verified either, but
okay.
yeah, maybe that could be an option.
Cool. Well, Somerville sounds awesome. Let's finish up the playlist in the episode talking about Pentiment with Charles.
Pentiment. Pentiment was my first review ever. I've never reviewed a video game before Pentiment, so that was cool.
Oh, congrats!
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's a good, cool game. It's also on Game Pass. It takes place in the year 1518 in a fictional town that would have existed in the Holy Roman Empire. And I started it, and I was like, I'm so glad I took AP Euro in high school because I feel like I know what's going on. It's 1518, and I had a point where I was like, 1518, that's 1 year after Martin Luther posted his 95 Theses and started the Protestant Reformation. And then someone walks in and they're like, hey, have you heard about this crazy Martin Luther guy? And I was like, yes.
Now you're just showing off, Charles.
Well, now you know. Martin Luther posted his 95 Theses in the year 1517. Anyways, it's really cool. You play as this guy, Andreas Mahler, and he is an artist that is working at an abbey, which is like a building of Catholic monks, and there's a adjoining convent of nuns, and he works. He's not a monk, but he works with the monks to like copy books. So he'll like take a book out of the library, literally just by hand make a copy of all the words and the art too, which is why he's there. And yeah, it's a really interesting game. It's an adventure game. And it's told, I mentioned he's copying books. It's told as if this story is one of the books he's copying. So it starts off, and the first thing you do is take like a stone. I don't really understand what it is, but you scrape away like the ink that's on an old page to like start writing your new book. Because I think that's how they would literally strip the existing books they had to make new stuff. And so like all the dialogue is like a quill will come in and write in, what the people say, and the different classes of people have different styles of like fonts that their dialogue is written in. So like one of the monks will have like this crazy ornate like Latin style, old. I said it belongs on like a Roman statue type of script. Whereas like a peasant just has like a quill dipped in ink, and you can see like in the text where like someone would have dipped their quill back in the ink to refresh the pen.
I love that.
It's so cool. Also, the author will make typos. So it'll be like, oh yes, he meant that way. And then you'll see, and then correct the M with the W and say he went that way. And you start to like, it's hard sometimes because the script is a little hard to read. So I'll be like, is that a G or, oh wait, it was supposed to be an H, and they just wrote it completely incorrectly. Yeah, the plot of the game, it's told in 3 different acts. They're pretty distinct. And the first 2 have like murder mysteries. And so you'll have, I don't really understand it, but I guess back in 1518, the days were divided into these chunks. They have weird Latin names. I don't remember what it is, but it's you'll have like the morning and then lunch and then that evening and then dinner and then nighttime where you're just supposed to go to sleep. And it'll be like, all right, we have to investigate this murder. I'm going to investigate this old crypt. And you'll do that and think like, oh, this is going to take a while, meaning that you don't have enough time to do that and then do something else before, you have to go eat lunch. And the way these mysteries are laid out is it's like there's, 6 or 7 investigation activities, and you'll only have time to do 4, maybe 5 if you're smart. So there's kind of an interesting puzzle there of like, I'm interested to replay the game at some point and see like if I do other actions, if I can figure more things out, because I don't think you can come to a clean conclusion on like who did this murder, who's right and who's wrong. And the game never really gives you a clear indication of if you made the right choice. I think you just have to go with your gut, and then the town will react. But yeah, my main issue was the third act. It's like a big shift. I won't spoil what it is because I think it's a really cool shift, and I understand why they did it, and I I respect the decision, but there's no murder there. You have like a completely different task. And part of what makes the first two chunks interesting is like, all right, I got to manage my time. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to make sure everything works out. And this last one, there's none of that like crunch. And it's still like an interesting story, but it's like you have time to do all the things you need to do. So there's not as much of a like decision-making process as there is in the first 2/3. So it's just less exciting. But I still think it's a good game. I still think it's a good story. I also think that third chunk is kind of necessary if, as far as I know, there's only one ending. So it kind of needs to tie some things together thematically if that's the way it's going. But yes, I gave it an 8.5. I think it's really good. I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think if you're... It's mostly reading and dialogue. There's some, I mentioned you make decisions and stuff, but this is mainly if you're interested in, I don't know, kind of a more traditional adventure text-based game.
We've got a lot of those this year.
Yeah, this has been a great year for adventure stuff, because even listening to you, Charles, the sort of like time management stuff reminds me a lot of Citizen Sleepers.
Yeah.
Sort of like all the different meters going on of like, well, I can't help both of these people in the time I have, so I gotta choose one. Is it does it make it pretty clear or easy to know all the things that are going on and how much time you have left with everything?
Yeah, so the menu, it's not like an active timer. It's just that like sometimes when you click on to do a thing, it'll be like, oh, this will take me a minute. So it'll ask you like, do you want to do this or do you want to go explore some more? So it's pretty explicit on like whether the thing you're doing is going to take up time. But it's also like the pause menu is like you pull, the camera pulls away from the book that you're playing in, and you can see all these tabs of like the glossary and the map, and on the map you can see like stars of like usually like the main tasks you have, some of which will involve time passing and some which won't.
Do you know for sure if there's only one ending? Or
I don't, but the way it came together, I would be surprised if there were multiple endings.
Well, just hearing everything up to it, it almost seems like that would contradict the design of like, oh, I accused the wrong person.
Yeah.
Now everyone hates me. But then if it kind of works its way to where like, oh, it's going to end how it's going to end anyway, regardless of who you accuse.
Yeah.
Sounds like that would be less interesting, but...
Well, it's like when you accuse people, unless I got like all my accusals completely wrong, which I guess is possible, but I didn't get the vibe.
Okay.
The people there's no confession. There's not like a part where they unravel the map and they're like, oh, you caught me. This is where I, placed the rocks I was going to drop on his head or whatever. They kind of go down kicking and screaming, and then whatever happens. And then you have to go into the next chunk of the game like, well, this person got executed for their crime. So now it's 8 years later and the church hates me. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay. I just wanted to know if there was a way to like play this the least optimal. Like I'm just the worst detective. Everything I get is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, I mentioned that third act. It does change a lot of stuff, and I don't want to spoil what happens in there because I do think it was like a really cool moment to see like what this third chunk of the game is, because it's just so different, and I think that's very interesting. But I think if someone was to play this game and get there, you would understand like, oh, okay, I can see how this game kind of has to go in this certain direction. And I still think it's an enjoyable ride, even if it felt like I was getting railroaded a little bit at the end, because I still think the story was cool, but that did take a little bit away from it for me. It felt longer. The game was I finished it in about 15 hours, but the last chunk, it just felt longer than the first.
I guess like the first ones too, you're like solving murder mysteries. It's kind of like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Even then, there's like an hour or two probably before the first murder where I was like, this is kind of a cool game, but it's slow and there's not much going on. And then someone died and I was like, oh. And then I felt like it clicked for me at that point. Before that, I wasn't as sold.
Just like real life, boring until somebody dies.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap up the episode. We have a couple listener questions, if that's all right with y'all. Of course, if you want to be involved, you can send us an email, podcast@gameinformer.com, or ask a question in the Discord, which you get access to by subscribing to us once on Twitch. It's a Mama Luigi asks, Pentiment looks pretty cool. I always love it when the visual design of games is based on a specific style of art. I played a game a few years ago called Apotheon. Apotheon?
Apotheon. I remember that
Apotheon.
game. Yeah.
That looked like ancient Greek pottery. What other games in this style have you played, and were they worth playing?
In the style of Pentiment, or just with a cool?
I think just like with a cool, distinct. I'm thinking of like Gorogoa. Didn't that have a pretty interesting art style? I didn't play it, so I can't say if it's good, but I remember it getting a lot of praise.
I think I reviewed that one actually.
Oh yeah? Did you like it?
I didn't love it, but I love the way it looks. It's a great looking game.
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the earliest examples of this is Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
Oh, like the crown look. That's
style.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
like, as a kid, I remember that was one of my first like. This is a really unique art style that you don't see in video games.
I'm thinking of Chicory, just kind of
Oh,
looks like a
yeah.
coloring book. That's a cool game where they really like take advantage, like mechanically, of the fact that you're coloring stuff in.
I think Disco Elysium is like expressionist, I think is like the style, and it's kind of got like a I don't know, it's like very distinct art style. I don't know if it'd be like a oil painting or like watercolor or something like that, but it's like very distinct, and I feel like it kind of falls in that category a bit for me. Also, that game's just awesome.
Maybe just cell shading as a whole, because it just makes everything look like either a comic book or an anime. You know, I think it's like the best way to like, your Dragon Ball game just looks like the show. You know, that's awesome.
What was that Genesis game? Was that Comic Zone? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, Comic Zone. Yeah.
That was an early one of very much like, oh, I see exactly what you're going for here for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that question. It's a Mama Luigi. I think as I called you last episode, it's a Mama Luigi. Zachary Pliggy asks, having the Game of the Year award voting this early tends to snub late releases that ultimately get overshadowed for the following year's award. My recent example is Tactics Ogre Reborn for this year. Over the years, has there been a game with a later November, December release that you think would have been a major contender if the awards were pushed off to the start of January? I think Halo Infinite.
Real quick, it's going to be really bad this year because Callisto Protocol, Midnight Suns, and there's another big one, High on Life. There's some big December games that are not going to be on the ballot this year. But to answer the question, I think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was a big one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember that one.
My biggest one was Spider-Man Miles Morales, where I dropped everything to play that game because that was one of my favorite games. I just like the Spider-Man series a lot, and it didn't get a lot of recognition. I think in general, it also came out like this. I think it was a launch title for the PS5.
Yeah, I was like, did it not make the cut?
I think Miles's actor got a performance nom, but I don't think it got much other than that. I could be wrong. I just remember looking at the Game Awards and being like, that's my game of the year, and then not seeing it anywhere.
Yeah. To be fair, Spider-Man has a history of getting snubbed at the Game Awards, so maybe it's just
it needs to quit coming out the same years as like God of War and Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Is it low-key it's like the Horizon of superhero games? Like, it just keeps getting overshadowed somehow.
Aww.
There's a good case to be made, though, that the Game Awards should be in like January or February when the games aren't coming out, as opposed to like right at the holidays when I feel like, and then that way I feel like the window is cleaner, right? Of it's just if it came out in 2022.
Yeah.
You know, not even just for games that come out in December, but just giving critics more time to play games that come out in November late October.
Yeah, I always feel like it's like rushed.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta cram through this giant RPG. It came out in November.
Oh, it's awful. It gives me anxiety. Cool. Last question comes from the indie informer herself. Jill Grote asks, you wake up on Thanksgiving to find the only foods left in the world are from video games. What's your best case feast? Parentheses, give me options for side dishes and a mouth-watering main course. Also, to be realistic, one thing on the table is disgusting. What is it?
What's the cranberry sauce of video games?
Rare candy.
You think it tastes bad?
Interesting.
It tastes bad.
I think like dubious food from Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of something for like Monster Hunter World, because all the food in that game looked fantastic. I don't know if I can single out a specific dish.
There's a stew in God of War Ragnarok that I'd be very curious to try.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think Brock calls it dirt soup, but he's like, but he really likes it though. He's like really into it.
I think we could have some potato mochi from Pokemon Legends Arceus. That'd be like a good
Some Lon milk.
Yeah, some Lon milk. Pumpkin spice Lon milk.
Whoa, that's something right there.
Come in your house.
This is a bad answer because it's real food, but just thinking about it, I cannot play Persona 5 because anytime someone drinks coffee or goes to a ramen shop, I immediately want coffee and or ramen. Or when they eat curry, I'm like, I just really want curry. But that's just real food, so that doesn't really count. I'll say a mushroom from
I think
Mario.
it
That's like a
counts.
classic. Maybe that can be our turkey. I'll
You
get
know,
slices.
Vegetarian.
When Brian Shea reviewed, I think, Persona 5 Strikers, they sent him a recipe for like actual Persona curry that he made, and he wrote he wrote the recipe as a feature on GI. You should look it up, and I made it at home, and it was fantastic. So you can literally live the dream if you want to do that.
Done.
That's awesome. Yeah, you could do the Kirby burger.
Mm-hmm.
That's
mm-hmm.
like-
Oh, we
just
saw
like a
that in Japan.
hamburger.
We saw that in Japan. We went to the Kirby Cafe. We didn't get to eat there because we didn't have a reservation, but we stood outside the window like creeps watching people eat pink
Bet that tastes
Kirby
good.
Yeah.
burgers.
Oh man, that's a
They're
sentence
like,
you
you think
just
that's
said.
good?
Yeah, I feel like World of Warcraft has like they have a whole cookbook dedicated to it, but there's
True.
so many recipes in WoW, and I'm guessing, and I think Final Fantasy as well. I'm guessing.
I mean,
15.
14.
15.
I mean, yeah.
15.
Oh,
yeah.
15 too. Yeah.
I found a new recipe.
I want. Can we like put chefs like who's in charge of the Thanksgiving dinner? Because I'd nominate Ignis.
He
Yeah.
seems like he
Mhm.
knows what
I
he's
think-
doing.
Yeah, and he's also very organized. Like he can juggle multiple dishes without having any of them burn. Probably.
I ate at the Toadstool Cafe, Super Nintendo World, and it tasted serviceable. It was.
High praise.
I don't think he would burn Thanksgiving dinner.
Who Toad himself?
Yeah.
Mm.
Canopio.
Okay. Is he
Well,
serving mushrooms? Is that like messed up?
Yeah, we like cracked open the head of a mushroom and like ate its insides. It was like a pizza bowl.
All right.
Interesting.
Yep.
what about Kirby with the chef hat on? Because he can just throw anything in a bowl and then it comes out as beautiful food. So then it doesn't matter what our ingredients are because Kirby's got the chef's hat on.
Yeah, I would be confident.
He'd be like Ignis's sous chef.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like you get him, those
I
two.
feel like that's
and he-
disrespectful to Kirby.
How?
Like, Kirby eats stuff for a living.
I think we all do.
Yeah, I was about
We
to say. I
literally
think
have to
that's,
live.
literally everybody.
No, but as a career as well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
doesn't. Kirby doesn't really discriminate on what's good versus bad food. Kirby eats
I mean,
Yeah,
his enemies as well.
I wouldn't.
he spits
trust
stuff
his
out that he
reviews.
doesn't like.
He ate a whole ass car once.
Yeah, he
repeatedly.
seemed pretty happy about it. Yeah.
He kept eating that car. He loved it so much.
That's true. Yeah.
That's who I want in my Thanksgiving kitchen. I want Ignis running the show because he's like organized, but I think his sous chef should be Kirby, and then you get Meowscular chef from Monster Hunter in there because he's kind of the grizzled vet.
Mhm.
He's worked in a lot of kitchens in his day, and then they turn out some good food, and then he gets one dish that sucks for some reason.
Yeah. You know who I think should be table service? The Overcooked crew. You know?
I'm
don't
iffy
know
on
about
that.
Yeah. Who's playing? Who's behind the?
They're gonna
the
throw
crew?
a potato at me.
I mean, I guess that's true Thanksgiving, right? Is chaos in the kitchen. Something has to catch fire at some point.
Yeah.
Someone tried to fry turkey and didn't realize that's a lot harder than it was.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to do it for the show this week. I know it was a longer one. I didn't mean for it to be, but hey, there's a lot of games that came out this week. Not sure if there's going to be an episode next week because of the holiday. Might take it off. So if you don't see an episode, that is why. We'll be back the following week. If you do see an episode, surprise! We decided to do an episode.
What if we recorded ourselves eating Thanksgiving dinner and you just made an episode out of that?
Just chewing noises.
yeah, ASMR.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love editing that Thanksgiving night. That'd be great.
Yeah. Shout out to Matt, aka DJ Stormageddon, for editing the show. Go listen to All Things Nintendo, our other podcast that's gonna have a huge, I think from what I'm hearing, a roundtable all about Pokemon Violet, Pokemon Scarlet. Of course, follow the crew here on social media. You can follow Charles at ChuckDuck365, follow Marcus at MarcusStewart7, and follow Kyle at Kyle M. Hilliard. And you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Of course, if you enjoyed the show, be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That means a lot to us. We'll be sure to read it off and say thanks. And share the show with a friend. Until next time, we will see you next time. Bye.